I'm Andreas Quesada. Welcome to the Emerald Palace. We enjoy having ModEv here. It's pretty cool having the presence of a lot of designers and devs and technologists, people in the house to be able to see what we do and to listen to some really smart people talk about some really interesting things. I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, first of all, I'm the creative director at GoodNet Digital, so a lot of the staff that I talked about being in the room are all my design team that handle the design for all of the digital products for GoodNet Digital, which is USA Today and all of the local newspapers and broadcast stations that GoodNet owns across the nation. So that's about, including USA Today, it's 83 local stations or local papers and 20-something odd broadcast channels. There's a lot of digital products that are included in that platform of product suite that everybody taps into, and we're going to talk primarily about USA today here. So let me get started. So the big thing we're talking about is moving on from being just a news app. It's kind of like a silly topic. The big idea here is that we're trying to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace a little bit from what is typically known as a news content app and what people expect from that application and experience. I'll talk to you a little bit about what it takes to put some of these things together by calling out some of the teams that are responsible for doing that. The design group that I referenced earlier, there's about 20 of us that handle all of the design for desktop and mobile products. There's about 30 or so devs. The numbers are a little bit off, it's plus or minus, that handle all mobile product development. That's iOS, Android, mobile web, etc., the Microsoft products. There is a substantial product management team that handles all of the requirement gathering and steers the ship in an appropriate direction for most of the products that we're trying to design and develop for, and they're in-house primarily over in that corner, waving at me right now, are two really cool people. So together we're unifying our teams. There's about these three groups take up about a majority of the mobile team that tries to go in the same direction with all of our products. So there's a unification of purpose. The philosophy behind a lot of what we do, which a lot of what I'm going to speak about seems to be skewed a lot in the design philosophy direction, but they're principles that everybody shares when we're talking about products here at GoodNet Digital. And a primary philosophy that we're trying to push towards with a lot of the work that we do for digital products is this idea of habit. So we create product. It's the things that people go to on their applications, on their phones, to get content, to have an experience, to waste time, to get a distraction. Whatever it is, it's doing a lot of things for a lot of different people. The experience should be able to cater itself to the users in such a way that they feel that it's very personal. And habit, it plays a big role in exactly that. And let's talk a little bit about that. So habit is something that we do every day. It's the things that we do often. It's the things that make up a part of our lives every single day when we're at home, when we're with our kids. It's the cigarette you smoke. It's the type of Coca-Cola that you prefer. It's the walk you take your dog on. It's the habits you have in the morning when you get ready to go to work. How you put your pants on in the morning, it doesn't really matter. Habit is habit. It's something that becomes embedded in what you do every single part of your life. So what we try and do, and you'll see the last three slides had newspaper readers. I'll tell you a little story. And I was talking to a friend about this earlier. The thing that made coming to work here at GoodNet Digital impactful for me was the memories I had as a kid when I would have breakfast with my father before he would go to work. He had part of a daily ritual preparing his normal breakfast, which tended to be the same thing every single day, but he also read the newspaper. So he'd sit at the kitchen table and he'd pull out that newspaper and he'd read. And it was a relaxing kind of like divergence for him in the morning. Whatever he was doing, it didn't matter to me as a kid. I just noticed that it was there with regularity. My wife, her father does the same thing. He consumes newspaper products like they're digital products, and he does both with an equal amount of interest and passion. But the habits that he formed as a child with that paper product formed the habits that he created with his digital products. That news consumption was something that he learned as a child, probably from watching his father, who watched his father or mother do the same types of things every day. The habits that we formed when we went to school and we read books to learn about history or math or technology or design, or the things that we transfer to our life. These are the types of things that interest the product teams, the dev teams, and the design teams here at Gannett Digital when we craft the experiences that our users come to our product for. So they're not just coming there to look at a piece of content, to read an article. They're coming there for an experience that we have to somehow connect with them for. So a habit is as easily identifiable as something like this. So we saw newspaper consumption just a minute ago, but you could easily map that across to using a phone to capture something important. It could be as reading that publication on a digital product as easily as on a paper product. It's wasting time, it's passing time in an airport, it's catching up on the news or information from your work or your family or your friends, or tapping into a social network. It's passing off information in terms of like photo to capture those interesting elements of the day. I don't know how many of you have been at a concert where something like this actually happened, and all you got to see was as much light came from the stage as it did from the crowd, because their digital products came up into the air to capture that moment. This is something that is habitual. These products that we purchase become part of our daily experiences, and that's the type of thing that Gannett Digital tries to build into the hardware that we're holding, because that bond is already there, that habit, and it's just cute. It's a divergence. I'm sorry, I like kitties like that. That's a bad habit, by the way. Selfies. Back to Obama. This is another bad habit. But it's something that you can see. It's from the newspaper to the device that he's holding has become as ingrained. One is part of the other. That ritual that he has in the morning is as easy as to see as the ritual he has when he engages with other people. That device has become part of his life, as your device is part of yours. So what we try and do when we craft the experiences here, when the dev teams meet with the product teams, meet with the design teams, and we ideate on the things that we're getting ready to put together for our consumers, we try to create an experience where we layer in emotion. So the only way that this is going to be a way for me to explain what habit actually is for us. The only way that we can actually create habit is to make a connection with the user to that thing. An easy way to do that is not so easy, but a way to do that is to create an emotional bond between that user so they create trust. Trust is essential for habit. Once you have that, it becomes very easy for you as a person to continually go back to that thing, because it returns that thing that you're looking for, that you created that trust with, a lot more easily for you, because you identify with it on an emotional level. So the things that we're trying to do when we architect the back end, when we deliver personalization engines, when we cater the content to the user, when we show interfaces that indicate that you've done something with them, reading an article dims out that article, so you've now seen that thing's been read, is a way to show the user that application is thinking for you. It's part of what you're trying to achieve. It's a means to an end for you, and that trust is there. And even if it's not so apparent, and even if it's not so obvious, the subtle cues that we design into our interfaces, into the experience, are ways for the user to create a bond with that application. They already have the bond with the device. We know that. I mean, all of us see these photos, and all of us have been at these events where Apple or Android launches a new product. It could be Microsoft. And there's always somebody in line who's first to purchase it, and this photo always gets shopped out everywhere as a great moment in time for that particular company. But the bond there is obvious for all of us. When we get ready to purchase that next device that we're going to have, we've already created an emotional bond to it. It's not the money that does it. but it's the thought of purchasing that thing because we already know that it's going to give us something personal when we use it, whether it's because we've used something similar before or just the expectation that that's what we're supposed to get. It's built into the product marketing, it's built into the product back end, the operating system design that gets returned to us. So the applications that we build for these interfaces have to do the same thing. The bond has already been made for the user with the device. So for us to not exploit what is already there for us as design and development teams and product teams is a failing. This is an opportunity more than anything else to see an opening for our users and to use that opening to gain some sort of hook to them. And it's not a devious thing. It's merely using what is already at our disposal to give our users what it is that they're already interested in at a meaningful level. So beyond emotion, the architecture, the user experience, the wireframing, the thought, the research, the construction, the optimization of the page, all of these things, the design of the layout, the way the content is structured provides the user with clear indications of hierarchy and direction. Those things are extremely important because while very meaningful for us to give them, they don't know what these things are on a very obvious level. They come to the interfaces without an expectation for these things, but with a desire to find them. The structure is necessary for them to create an understanding of what it is they're being shown. To have an absence of that creates a diversion for them away from the application for some other place that's actually achieving that. So if we create an emotional hook for them and then we create a structural hook for them, these things will give them buy-in to the application that will create, again, that bond and that habit that we're looking to form with them over a period of time that will make them come back again and again and again. And that's the most important thing for us. We want new users, sure, but we want the ones that we have to repeat visit because that's revenue. And that's a business goal for our company. Usually it's a business goal for most companies. But for us, it's kind of like, yeah, these guys are crazy. But this is the idea is there, the structure, that construction, that thing that you build, while sometimes extremely complicated and in some ways kind of crazy in its endeavor, is something that we can give the user that returns them the value that they're seeking when they come to your application. So at Gannett Digital, we build a large suite of products. And I touched on those earlier on, from Apple devices to Android devices. So iPhone and iPad, Android devices or phones and tablet experiences, Microsoft Surface, Microsoft phones, BlackBerry devices, et cetera, and mobile web, especially mobile web. And I'm going to tell you why in a second because it recently relaunched and was rebranded and had such a significant impact in the marketplace that it kind of set the bar for everything else, I think, afterwards. And as a design team, it was like a great moment in time to show where we're going with a lot of the interfaces that are coming for USA Today and Gannett products in the future. So when we launched mobile web, we rebranded an experience that was a remnant web experience on the phone. So for users had to navigate a hierarchy and a structure and a navigation that was something that was meant for a large browser from 8 to 10 years ago. It wasn't friendly, it wasn't well designed, it wasn't pretty in any way, it wasn't optimized for content, and it sure as heck didn't make us any friends in that space. The design for the product, when we relaunched it, took cues from a simplification philosophy that the entire Gannett Digital product teams are taking seriously. And the idea of a direct approach to design by getting the noise out of the way and giving the user structure, hierarchy, and organization that will drive them to content that they may not be interested in or they may actually want to see when they get to your application. The interfaces were clean. They're very direct. They serve a very good purpose in showing the users what it is they're interested in seeing. The display of data was done in a visual manner so that users could parse that information very easily without feeling like they had to go through tables and content that was very complicated. The navigation was done in a way that was easy to get to and access, and content it has been readily accessible in a clean interface when they finally get there. So the article and asset templates were done with lighter typography and space between elements so that users found the desire to drive down rather than stop at the top and feel like they've not reached what they want to see. The ideas and the principles behind the design and the layout of these pages was specific with one goal in mind: get them to the next thing, and then get them to the next thing after that, because that is essentially a way to drive that habit hook into them. So if they feel like they're getting what they need, they're going to be more apt to go to the next thing and return later on to digest more content. So that endeavor for this interface has actually been extremely successful, and I think the metrics have been holding up that it's serving its purpose. It was a foundational point for a lot of what we were doing in design, because it isolated in that endeavor a focus that the design team was trying to do, which the dev teams were very happy to have us focus on, which product on mobile was actually also very happy to see happen, was that for all digital products, we take tablet as our hub. So that's the place where we start. It's the launching point for all of our design. Application work on mobile products is affecting outwardly every other product around it. Not the reverse, which is what was expected for most digital products several years ago, which was the web influences that. Since the marketplace is growing in a faster direction towards mobile consumption, it only made sense that this is the place where we should focus. So a lot of what we do here, and what we did here on mobile web, is affecting a lot of what we're doing for the next generation of USA Today products, the next generation of Gannett products. When we relaunched and redid the interfaces for the iPad app, we also used the same philosophies of structure and application interface work. We lost the navigation, which was a remnant navigation design element that we got from the web relaunch for USA Today a year and a half ago. It didn't make any sense for users to see that there. It was something that was quite frankly, a bad decision, and we learned from our mistake and moved on and designed it appropriately, using application design principles for mobile tablet and user consumption in that space, rather than looking to web for what users want in terms of hierarchy and structure and navigation. The page layout was also something that gave us the opportunity to focus users on specific areas, drive their eye to areas where we had business needs, like the consumption of more video, without layering them all over the interface in programmed ways that didn't make any sense to them. So they had visual cues to go to certain regions within the app where they could find structure and organization and consume content in a more easier fashion. The way the page was laid out has actually made it easier for us to evolve the product for the next stages in a more simpler fashion by driving even more noise out of the template. So the next iterations of tablet are actually going to be even more simplified with more focus. So this was a great foundational moment to set the bar for the next stage of what is iPad. This is kind of a glimpse of kind of like what we've been working on next, which is like the simplification of the article template to an extreme, where we're driving the user into content that they want to see anyway, with a lot of the noise out of the way. Space, padding, typography, use of the area in a way that organizes this page instead of a 3-column layout or a 4-column layout that users are used to on a paper product. We drive them in a way that lets them consume the content that they're expecting on a tablet. And this is learnings that we're undertaking now here in the teams, especially on design and mirroring that on product and development, that are letting us go to the next stages of what we see product going to for USA Today. This is the Surface tablet app that went out. It was like a year ago, wasn't it? Yeah, it was about a year ago. We had a great relationship with Microsoft when we did this. Developers and design team went out to visit them at their campus, sat down with their development and product teams, lived with them for a period of time, learned about their operating system, which they were just trying to get out the gate. The rapport between our teams and the teams there actually fashioned out the design for this interface, which they still walk around as an example of how to do work for their operating system today. They were here in the building, I think about 2-3 weeks ago, and their product people are actually still saying that this is what we point to when we go to partners in the future about how you design for Microsoft products going forward, especially content products, because it was such a moment for them to be able to have that relationship, that partner building relationship with someone to drive a product to their marketplace and their consumers in a way they thought would benefit their hardware, and at the same time benefit our company. It was kind of like a standout. So we're very proud of what happened there at Microsoft. The designs here were, again, kind of like a cue for where we're going for most of our products: clean interfaces, direct approach driving to content. This breeds habit and consumption, data displays that are visual, content organization when you go to subsections that allow the user to generate more page views, more revenue, etc. It formed a, skipping ahead, it formed a way for us to set the tone, again, for the products that we're getting ready to design and build for the next stages of Gannett Digital. I'm going to talk to you a little bit next about some of the people here have actually seen these next slides, but they're kind of pertinent to what I'm talking about. So I'm going to bring them in. There's an important kind of, here, let me get to it right here. This is kind of a way to describe the rules that we see, or the philosophy that we see between the user, their objective, and how we approach design development and product ideation for all of our digital products here at Gannett Digital. There's me, I'm the user. There's my objective, and there's a straight line path from myself to that thing. I don't necessarily know what I'm coming to when I come to an application. I may want the top story of the moment. I may want just a diversion for the instant, but there's an objective in mind, and I'm trying to get to it without any distraction, without any interference. This is kind of like a way to describe what happens when we institute some interference and some blockers into this. This is myself getting to my objective, but advertising getting in the way. We have business goals. We have to operate and we have to function in a way that keeps us sustainable. But we're doing it, and we have done it in a way that is kind of like an old way of doing things. This is a 20-year-old method. This is fill the space with an advertisement. A user comes to an application and we pin an advertisement to the bottom of the page. That's usually not a friendly experience, especially if you're on a phone. On tablet, less so, but still not a great experience. Users don't want to see these things get in the way. If I come to a piece of content, let's say I get to the front page of an application, click on an article link, go to an article page, and I'm presented with something that pushes the page down or is an advertisement at the top, and I can't see the headline, a photograph, or anything that's related to the actual content that I was clicking on, but the first thing I was seeing is an actual advertisement. That's a business strategy that is flawed, because what it actually does is it presents the user with a block to the actual thing that they're interested in. It drives them away from the app, and the likelihood of them coming back is slim. So what we're trying to do when we architect our experiences, and this involves not just strategy that comes from management here at the company, it's strategy that involves the information architects when they wire out pages, when they do research and user testing. It involves the development teams and how they optimize the page for ad loads. It involves the design team and how they design those advertisements into those experiences so that they blend. It involves the product management team and how they funnel in those feature growth into the app in a sensible way so that we don't have a bloat against our user or pass on to them a burden of something that's a problem for our company. So this is one blocker, but it's not actually the only one. So more of the needs for this particular business here and a lot of our content businesses are we also have we have a need to get the user to the next bit of content, but we don't do it in a way that's intuitive for them or a way that's friendly. We just put those empty spaces and fill that with related links from some third-party partnership that may not actually be related. There's Google links, there's Google AdSense, there's all sorts of stuff in there that kind of gets in the way of the actual next thing they want to go to. The next series of interfaces that we'll probably push to our product actually achieve the goal in a simpler way. The consumption of news is something the user is there for. They opened up the application to do that. That much is known. Getting them to the next thing isn't something that we have to force them to. It'd be something that the designs actually prompt them to. So instead of thinking about the business in a way that I showed you just a minute ago, what we try to do is we try to think about the business. We try to think about the design and development, the planning and strategy of all our digital products in a way that takes a person from one state to the end state and tries to limit the amount of things that are in between by crafting what we have as an experience that achieves a business objective without keeping the user out of the experience at all. So I hope that kind of gives you a really good idea of some of the thinking that we've got, some of the design principles and philosophies that drive the teams here to create products for USA Today and Gannett. I can't emphasize honestly the amount of passion and work that goes into what we do every day. There's teams here that put a lot of sweat and thought and love into the products that we have, and we really enjoy working with each other even when we're at odds. It's a phenomenal place to work. There's a great group of people doing the work here, and an awesome suite of products that we're actually building upon. So thank you for your time.